Welcome to the Perfect Life Awakening Show, hosted by Royce Morales. Royce has been a transformational facilitator, teaching groundbreaking, spiritually based courses for more than 4 decades. She is the author of 3 books about her teachings. Join Royce as she takes you on a journey into how to live your best life and find your true purpose through discovering the origins of subconscious, disempowering notions and releasing them. She talks with experts and inspiring people just like you who learned to trust their intuitive inner wisdom, which led to life-changing shifts. Today, her guests live an empowered existence and are helping change the world to a higher consciousness place based on truth and love. You deserve to awaken to, align with, and embody your true self and live a life filled with love. Transform yourself from triggered to empowered and create your perfect life. Here is your host, Royce Morales.
Welcome, everyone. I am, as usual, very excited today because I get to talk to somebody who's created something pretty incredible. She deals with people that have what she refers to as medical mysteries, depression, alienation, unsuccessful relationships, money problems, can't get past trauma, etc. And she developed a scan. She calls it an infinity scan. And she combines her knowledge because she was born able to see auras, and she's a very amazing intuitive psychic. And now she uses this scan to help people in various ways. And she's going to explain what happens from it and what it does and how she came up with this, etc. She kind of combined her knowledge of biofeedback, which is also very interesting because biofeedback had some limitations. It could only scan and get information based on what was already known pretty much. And it didn't deal with the energetic field, etc., past lives, between lives, soul connections, all kinds of stuff. So now she's able to do that. And I can't wait to hear what she has to say about all that. So welcome, Kimberly McGeorge. I'm so excited that you're here.
Oh, thank you.
So first of all, tell us how this came about. You started out able to read people's auras, and just kind of tell us your entire life story, how this happened.
You don't want that. You don't need all that. Briefly, I was born awake with some memory of past lives, some memory of who I was, but put into a programming family that stifled a lot of that. I didn't really turn it on again. I mean, of course I used it, but not, really practically, I guess, because we're all intuitive. But in college, I just started using it more openly. I didn't charge money, but, people would say, is my boyfriend cheating on me? And I was always right. Or am I going to get that job? Or how should I dress for this interview? And so my ex-fiance, I have a lot of ex-fiancés, but my ex-fiance in college said, always used to teach, ooh, things. Because people would ask me, how do you know? And I would just say, I know. And they're like, you can't know. And I'm like, but I do. And it was all, always accurate. And so that kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And then I developed such a reputation in college that I attracted the attention of what was called at the time an occult, OCCULT, not a cult, but occult crime unit. And so I was brought in. It sounds really glamorous. It's not, kind of like if you've ever watched the show Medium, to advise on not just crazy murder cases, but teenage kids that were breaking into houses and doing devil worship, stupid stuff. It wasn't all but in the, when we started looking into it, some of it became crazy. And I was only between 20 and 22. So it wasn't super glamorous and it wasn't very high paid. But I, became well enough known that they would pull me into really interesting. There was a home for disabled adults. I don't know if you call them residents, I guess, were becoming possessed. And so they called me in to advise on that. And I was able to staff member who was a satanic rituals in the building. And so I was bringing a lot of, and I did my first exorcism, and I have a whole different view on this now, but I'm speaking, from my view back then when I was 20 years old. And so I've always specialized. I came into this work through the door of the paranormal. I'm very, very well known in the paranormal communities. I was Shane Pittman's of the Holzer Files. I was his psychic medium before he became famous for his paranormal group. And, he and I did many shows together. I know all the big ghost names. So that's my expertise. And that's how I started to learn to merge with the body and see what's underneath it. Like, are there other beings in there? Does this person even have a soul? Because hopefully everybody now knows we're in a game, we're in a simulation. And so we have a lot of beings with no souls. There's cloning. There's all kinds of robotic enhanced, people. So there's a lot going on, but I learned it all. What I do now and how I'm able to kind of look through people. It kind of started back then, I think, with the more darker, side of spirituality. Ended up getting married, following the 3D program, having children, got in naturopathic medicine. And I practiced for many years as a naturopathic doctor with clinical practices, in the old days where we used to see people in person. And so I've used technology for the last 35 years. I used to use biofeedback machines, and now I write and create apps, and I hold a patent on, I'm one of the patent holders on the Halo PEMF device, and I'm their exclusive programmer for their code, for their frequency that runs that device. So that's the short version.
So tell us about that device.
Yeah, it's a pulsed electronic magnetic frequency device, which is recognized tons of papers and medical literature. And what it does is it drives resonance or sound. It drives it through the energy field, like actually down into the cells and down into the bone. So some of the programs are metaphysical, but they all really affect the body. A lot of them, I think we did a lab sleep study on my sleep frequency set, and I think it improved double blind study, like by 35%. And I said, show me something you can take that improves your sleep consistently by 35%. Not very many things. So a lot of success, with the use of, combining frequency and sound and resonance with, kind of older technology that is accepted in 3D,
Okay, so then tell us about the infinity scan. How did that happen?
That happened because I've used I used the BioMeridian for years. I had 2 machines, and that's, a lot of people have been on that in their chiropractic offices, and chiropractors use it to sell supplement lines. So they'll scan you and they'll be like, you need this from standard process or that, and I was, this is so dense, but when I was training, when I first had my first machine, I was sitting next to this older gentleman with an English accent. And as I was answering questions and interacting, and I said out loud to myself, I was just writing my notes, and I'm like, I don't think you need to go all over the body for all these body points. I said, I think you can pull, I'm just talking to myself, muttering in class. I said, I think you can pull all the information through one point instead of making people take off their, socks and their shoes. And it's just, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. And he said, who are you? And I said, nobody. I'm from around here. I just have a little naturopathic practice. I live in the country. And he said, well, do you know who I am? I'm like, I have no idea. He said, I'm the homeopathic doctor for the royal family in England.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, and he took my notes and copied them. And so what that told me was that this isn't the first time I've done this, that I am frequency, I am resonance. I've worked with it and I'll just say the popular names. We all know there's other civilizations, I hope, but Atlantis and Lemuria and all the ancient civilizations. So, I carried that, I was always going to end up in this. I couldn't not end up in this because it was who, I've always chosen to be as a soul throughout, all time, all space. So, yeah. So the scans came about. I always did scans. I did scans, my own way, through that. But once we got the iPad and we got the, you and I are older. We didn't always have, I assume you didn't always have iPads because I did it. And I didn't always have a cell phone. But when we got that, we got the apps, basically the machines were put into apps. So it's just, portable. you can hold it. It's really the same thing as the machines. But the cool thing is, in this type of technology, because I'm so into code and programming, I can program my whole multidimensional experience into the back end of it, and then my clients benefit. So combined with my abilities, and I really don't use it anymore, because what it did, using it for the past 10 years, it awakened such a memory that I just connect to the information myself. I use the aura, I use a few functions, just, the client likes pictures, but pretty much I have access, if I'm in the right, I guess, frame of mind, you want to say, or connected, and I'm not distracted and running all over the place like a chicken, like I sometimes am. There's no information I can't pull. And when I say there's no information I can't pull, it's beyond these scans. One of the reasons I call it, I'm glad I named it infinity scans, because it really is. There's no question I can answer accurately about anything. And I'm talking microcosm, which would be about your life, or macrocosm, which would be about the collective, or another location, or a past quote civilization, or a future civilization, including timelines. So I will not, like, I've already looked, will my daughters meet anyone? Will they divorce their husbands? Will they, how long will my dogs live? How long will I can look at anything with accuracy. And people are like, no, you can't. You're going to change the butterfly effect timeline. There's a difference in remembering. I'm a being who actually remembers things. I'm not a being in who's predicting. So yeah, if a time traveler or someone goes in and messes around with timelines and they're predicting it, of course you can, the butterfly effect, you can change, or people might call it the Mandela effect. But that's not the being that I am. I'm a being who remembers what already happened. I'm not changing anything. I'm speaking in remember. So that's just change. It's been coming in the last couple of years, but unlucky or lucky for you, that's just solidified in the last month. And I've really been living through that experience, instead of relying on the technology. I've been living through the experience of me as the technology, me as resonance, me as memory. And yeah, to really great. And I'm very, very busy now. And it's interesting. And I think you'll relate to this and like it, Royce. It's interesting that all it takes is to remember who we are and step into the fullness of ourselves, and magic happens, and our world expands exponentially to our understanding and remembrance of who we are,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you say you remember, what happened? So let's say you tell somebody, you're going to divorce that guy in 10 years. What happens to that person? What do they do with that information? Can they change it? Do they have to buy into it? I mean, tell us a story of what would happen theoretically.
Well, first of all, I believe as a sovereign, there's a responsibility when you have great wealth, great beauty, great gifts. I think there's a responsibility to wield that in a responsible way. So, I mean, I'll just be honest. I can tell people don't have a soul. Now, you have a soul, so it's not a problem. But let's say you came to me as a client, and I will round answer your question, and hey, Dr. Kim, I have a soul. Of course, I'm going to, and I have many ways I do this. I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to distract you so you think I answer. If you were an NPC, Royce, you would never know. And some NPCs do end up finding out they're NPCs, which is weird, but they're never going to hear that from me. And I'll tell you why, because an NPC is a non-player character. They're a inserted character in the game that does not have a soul. Like the Matrix. Matrix kind of illustrates that, the Matrix movies and the Matrix series. And there really are many, many. My mother doesn't have a soul. She's never had a soul. She didn't have a soul when I was born. She still doesn't have a soul. She's an interesting woman. But, I'm not going to have a conversation with my mom. And I've always known that. But I'm not going to have a conversation with her because, I operate basically under HIPAA, first of all. And second of all, I don't feel that's responsible for their psychological, emotional, or spiritual health. However, if they really understood what an NPC was, I don't think it's a negative thing, because NPCs, sometimes I wish I was an NPC. NPCs get to do whatever they want, no consequence, no heaven, no hell, no getting lost in limbo, which a lot of you guys do. All this stuff, they can just have fun. And then you don't even know you're an NPC. You don't know you're dead. So what's the big deal? So I don't know why people freak out. And because they ask me, that's one of my most popular questions, because I teach a lot about the soul. and about death and about the soul trap and about the programming in this reality. And they're like, I'm so afraid I'm an NPC. I said, first of all, if you're asking me that, you're probably not, you probably wouldn't care. Like my mom would never ask that because she doesn't have enough, spiritual connection to even like think that, to ask that. So, to answer your question, I refund people all the time and I refuse to answer. I say, I will not answer that, but I will answer this. And if you're not happy with that, I'm going to refund your money. So I'm not someone's puppet. I'm not someone's, put the dime into the magic psychic, but I can be. If it serves the person, I can be. I am totally going to be talking to my daughters about situations in their marriages that I had never looked at. Here's the other thing, and this doesn't matter if you're me or you and how psychic you guys are. If you don't look, you can't see. So it's not like I couldn't have looked before. It's just I am the information now, and I don't have to wait for the lag of AI to match the programming. I can just directly go get it. So it's faster. So now I'm looking at more than I ever did because it takes hours and hours and hours to scan people and then interpret the information from an app. But when you are the information, it's just kind of there. So I am looking at a lot of things, including in my own life. And I've had some shocks in my own life in the last month too. So it's a lot to really change your whole operational way of how you offer products. So my whole website's changing. All my products are changing. I don't know. You just hit me in a transition time.
Okay. So, two questions immediately. I have never heard that people can arrive here without a soul. Tell us a little bit more about that.
This whole, I guess it goes back to, it's hard for me because I know these are facts. So, and I don't tend to, I guess how I always present it is these are facts. You can believe them or not, of course. Like I can't make anyone believe anything. But this is a game simulation that was created for a number of, purposes. Not what people say. It was not created as a prison system, originally. But it was created by a team of 12 people called the architects. They aren't people. They don't have souls. They're above beings created by 12 architects. And it did have a purpose. I'm not going to go deep into that. We'll get off way track. But if I had to put it under one of those, love and light categories that people talk about, it's more like a school than a prison. Even now, everybody's like, it's a prison, the controllers and, Trump and this person and, just that's all script. That's all, there's this whole, everything is about this. And this, everything is really not about the 3D life, like what you're eating for breakfast and what time you're going to bed and going to the baseball game. Everything to me is, do you get out of this game, number one, and you're not reincarnated back in? And number two, where do you, well, that's basically it, I guess, to get out of this game and remembering who you are, because we are memory wiped with a lot of technology. And we're not just memory wiped. This is what they don't tell you that I know. We're not just memory wiped once at birth. We're also memory wiped constantly by multiple agencies and multiple types of technology, which I teach about on all my media platforms. And even tonight, I'm teaching about why physical abductions I'm not teaching. I'm talking about, why physical abductions aren't happening as much, with the whole UFO type of, little gray men, all that. That's not even happening anymore as much as it used to. And it did happen. So there's just a lot against people really waking up. And then what people don't know is people think it's like the legal system or the medical system or the educational system. These are like the sinister, dark programs. But in reality, it's a system that you and I are sitting in right now. It's the love and light system that is your final stop before you wake up. You have to break through all the lies, all the false guides. I mean, I just did Reiki scans for 7,500 people, and I was scanning, and because I wrote an article saying Reiki is a lie, and we don't have time to go into all that. You can go on my Substack and read it. I think it's free. And then I went in people's fields and I looked at the symbols, and all the symbols were burning and inverted and blocking their crown chakras and blocking their memory. And we burned those out. But when I went in to burn out the Reiki, I saw all this love and light programming, all this false guides and all this garbage. and we just believe everything. Somebody says they're an emissary of the Pleiades, and we're like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit at your feet and, soak it up. Somebody says they're the cosmic agency. There's no discernment present in this community, not just this community, but then there's the people coming out of religion, looking for answers. There's no discernment there. So there's just a lot going on, and it's really hard when you. So, we talk about in intelligence, there's this concept of, security clearance. And they're like, oh, I have this security clearance and I have that security clearance. I have all access. There is no, I'm above security clearance. I can get anyone's file. I can penetrate, and they know this. I can penetrate any agency. I can strip away any the paid agents in this community. Like, you're not obvious, or I wouldn't be on your show. And I know who has the sincere hearts, but they're sincerely wrong. And I know the people that are deliberately deceiving, and don't think there aren't a lot that don't get handed scripts and what to say. One of the reasons I came online and I was even inserted into this reality is to bring down the false, not the true, the false love and light community. So that's a lot of what I do. You don't have to worry because you're not false.
Thank you. Thank you. So, okay. So let's go back to my one of my questions and get a little bit deeper on that. Let's say you tell somebody that this is going to happen, and you're very careful and use a lot of integrity in terms of what you say. But the first question is, are they able to change that outcome just by being conscious of it? No, it's permanent.
Not if I say it. Now, if another type of being says it, yes, because they're probably, okay, remember, I'm remembering. I'm coming from, most people look at it from this part. It hasn't happened yet. So they're saying you have 3 timelines. You might get divorced. You might get married. You might never meet someone. That's how all beings that are fire creation or fakes, and that's how they look at it. I know what you chose. It can't change because I know what you choose. That's why I have to be super careful, because I'm remembering. I'm coming from actuality, not possibility, if that makes any sense. And that has been very sobering. And I'm still, to be honest with you, it's a very, very heavy mantle, and I can't give you all the answers because I'm still sorting. I'm just being honest. I'm still sorting with what I offer. And I've told a lot of people no, because they think I am the magic genie. I've had people say, hey, I want learn a new language. How do I do that? I'm not here to be do you know what I mean? Your genie in a bottle. That's not how I operate. I'm a sovereign being, and I'm not even human. And that's not why I'm here. I'm here for the ones that haven't known how to remember. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help them get out of the game and remember who they are and enjoy the rest of the game, Royce. Not just remember and wait to die. I'm here to teach you how to live above the game and how to create the life you want, which I think you're really big into, is my vibe from you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And so it says somewhere, I read something that you're able to help people to take a look at past lives or between lives or spiritual connections. How does that go with what you're doing?
I mean, one of the services that I haven't, I think it is up on my Etsy store. I don't remember. It might be up on my website. But I have started offering that to see if people, so I'll ask your oversoul, the part that you may or may not be connected with. Some people are, some people aren't. I'll say, what are the 3, because if you're real, most people have hundreds of thousands of past lives. So I don't just want to randomly pick okay, here's your 3. What I ask is, what 3 past lives do you need to know now that you're living the loops positively or negatively that will help you remember or take that next step forward? So I don't pull random lives. I pull what you, and so, I tell you your name in that past life. I tell you whether you were a seer or a temple or a soldier or a scrub the floors or, whatever you did and why, and what age you died and why you died, and the spiritual compromises that you made and why you might be looping. And it's so fascinating because when I pull them, even as I'm looking at them, it's so cool to see the threads and the themes. And then the person's just like, oh my gosh, just like totally me. Oh my gosh. Like, it's just so cool to get that feedback, because we have this, and I think you know this, we have this knowing. They may not know their name from that past life. They may not know that they were a prison guard. They may not know that they sold out the priests. They may not know all the detail, but they struggle with some of the same behaviors and the same addictions and the same barriers. And so when you're handed, it takes a lot of guilt off. You're like, oh, this isn't just me that I just can't get over this in this life. It's like, no, this is like a program. This is a pattern. I just came yesterday. I had a client and she had taken a vow. Here's what they don't tell you about vows. Vows don't end when you die. Your marriage doesn't end when you die. Your Girl Scout vow doesn't end when you die. Every vow has to be broken. If you don't know you took a vow to the controllers 5,000 years ago, how can you break a vow to the controllers? But it doesn't matter. That's not how the game works. You're still living under that vow. So not only are we looking at past lives, but we're also giving details that it's like handing keys to expansion and memory. And I always give people, practical things. I don't leave them hopeless. Like, oh, you're a mess. You're a horrible person in these 3 lives, or you were a glorious person and, good luck having that again. I give them like the keys, like we find the keys together of what can change and what we can do to break, release, remember, turn on, activate,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you, that because I find that when I work with people, I assist them in remembering their past lives, and they get in touch with specific memories, specific incidents, and they clear them. So does that happen when you're giving people this information, or is it just kind of like hearing a story?
Well, I carry codes in my voice. So even if, we talked about dogs and kittens, you're never going to be the same after sitting in my field, because of the being that I am. So they're changed regardless of whether they think they are, know they are, but they usually will know they are. But so just the conversation, but as far as informationally, like I said, like you do, I'm sure we clear, like if we find a vow, I tell them how to clear it, or I can do work for people. And I don't know your opinion on this. I'd be curious your opinion on this. I can do 99% of the work for them, but that's not what I believe is. I don't think I'm here to do the work for people, because if you do that, this is my opinion, I want your opinion, they'll just walk right back into it. Like if they don't understand the gravity of what it feels like to have that vow and breaking a vow, and I just say, okay, all vows are gone, then they're going to take more vows, or they're going to, whatever they're doing, they're just going to walk right back into it.
Exactly. My opinion, yes.
I don't know if you have them do it or you do it for them, but I do some stuff for them. You heard me say I burn those Reiki symbols, and I gave them a track for the echo effect, because we're not taught that when we get rid of vows and we get rid of tethers and hooks and cords, there's this echo effect. So if you aren't walking straight, and you don't always know if you are, those things just reform and reattach. So I like to always give somebody something. Yeah, I burned out the symbols, but that's pretty strong if you've been a Reiki practitioner or a teacher, or you've received a lot of Reiki. So I gave them a follow-up frequency track so they can burn the echo themselves. I always like to give them tools to do themselves, because I know who I am. I'm good. I'm good all the way back to the all. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I have an amazing life in the 3D, 4D, 5D, and 7000D. I'm good. I'm here for you guys. I want to make sure you're good. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not just going to do it for you. And I'm not going to, if you can't do it and it's an emergency, yes, I am going to do it for you. I am going to remove an entity. I am going to help you if you're being harassed in your home and you have blood dripping down your walls. I am, a lot of it's programming though. And again, you have to know the programs, know the agencies you're entangled with to do something about it. You can't, it's the same thing with health. I always said with health, a lot of people don't know why they're sick and tired. You have to get down to the root. And once you know what's wrong, you can solve it. It's the same as, in spirituality or invisible things.
Yeah. Yeah. So go back a second or two. You said echo effect. Explain a little bit more about that.
Right. So you're dealing with very, very sophisticated technology. You're not taught that. You're dealing with we tend to think everybody but us is like a 2D paper doll. Like, so we talk about an agency, or we talk about a corporation, or we talk about the SSP, or we talk about the military, or we talk about even, and we tend to think they're 2D, and we can just, brush them aside with our hand. Worthy opponents, and we are, because, well, I have my full memory, so I'm good, but most people don't. They have their full memory, so we're fighting against invisible enemies that have full memory, that have the technology that we don't even know about. And so that's why when they hook you, or they cord you, or they siphon you, or they have a program running in you, you can't just remove the program, if you even can. It takes a certain beingness, presence, understanding, and frequency. But let's say you can. Then technology is automatically programmed to reinsert. Usually after a period of time, it's programmed to reinsert in 24 hours, in 3 days, in 7 days. And I can see with my vision, I can see the echo. So yeah, the cord's gone. They'll say, the cord's gone, cord's gone. And that's where most practitioners stop. But I can see, it's like a shadow. I can see the echo still there. And I know that we have to keep removing that echo, kind of until the agency's like, okay, we have to try something else, because they're on to that. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're stealing candy from the candy jar, and your mom sees you do it, and you're like, dang, I'm going to have to figure out a way when she's not looking to do it a different way. It's the same thing. I mean, these are intelligent beings that sometimes more powerful than we are. And that's another lie. We are not all the same beings here. And I'm working on a series right now. I'm talking about there's 5 different kinds of soulless beings that you guys are encountering every day. Who's teaching that? No one. So we're just walking around thinking, oh, I met this cute guy in the grocery store, and we're going to get married next week because he's my soulmate. No, that was your inserted handler by this agency to distract you, so you don't wake up, so you don't remember who you are, and so you don't embody your full gifts. I mean, what you don't know will hurt you all day long in this game. And so, everybody has their abilities, and mine at this moment, and probably till I die, I assume, are unlimited. And so not everybody has the knowledge I have, and they don't want to believe it. Nobody wants to believe their child doesn't have a soul. But it's useful as a mother to know that. It's useful to understand behavior. I have children that have souls, and I have children that don't have souls. It's very useful as a mother. It's useful to know if your husband or wife is souled. Why are you trying to drag someone that's never going to wake up to your consciousness seminars? Why not have a peaceful, happy relationship, or choose something different? If you want someone equal, leave your soulless husband and choose something different. And so we're just so programmed in just, from every angle. We don't know how to create the lives we want, really.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're telling me, girl. Hey, girl.
Well, we need to take a break here. I want to talk to you more about something that I talk about a lot in my course. I call it deservingness. And we're going to be right back and talk about all of that. I am chatting today, hearing some amazing information from Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and we'll be right back.
Om Times TV. Do you crave joy but feel stuck? Do you go through life feeling constantly triggered and frustrated? Fear is likely the culprit, and subconscious fear is likely sabotaging you. Perfect Life Awakening is a time-tested, spiritually based approach to inner transformation created by Royce Morales. For over 40 years, she has helped people get to the origins of subconscious fears and ultimately help them find their true purpose and a life full of joy. Sign up for Perfect Life Awakening today at roycemorales.com. You deserve to go from triggered to empowered, shifting your life with Perfect Life Awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Fascinating information, really. And we're talking about being able to remember, basically, if I were to bottom line it. And yes, all of us have that ability, but we've forgotten that we have that ability. We've forgotten a lot of stuff about ourselves. But what came to mind as you're talking, especially when you were talking about the echo effect, I always just refer to that as just, attracting the same situation over and over and over again because you haven't resolved it. And there's a part of us that doesn't believe we deserve to resolve it. Can you add a little bit more to that about deserving and, setting up karmic situations over and over and over again because we just keep believing that's what we deserve?
I think you said it very well in how you just said it. I'm just going to kind of say it differently. So there is no karma in the game. Just wait. There is a mirrored reality. So this is a mirrored created as a mirrored system. It never wasn't not a mirrored system. One of the fundamental laws the architects built into the game is it's a mirrored reality. I go smack my neighbor, something's going to happen. They might smack me, they might not. They might pull up all my flowers, but that's a mirrored reality. There's going to be what you put out. I'm not a big Bible fan, but that's one of the truest explanations of a game law is do unto others what you want them to do unto you. And what you put out, will come back, and usually more than you put out, which can work, positively and negatively. So that's truth. Now, here's where it gets messy. We've had other lives in other games, other realms, other multiverses, other densities, dimensions. And in some of them, they've had karmic laws too. So they're programmed, or that game is set up, or that reality is set up to where you do take what happens with you and not even just like this is within the game. When you work with past lives, when I work with past lives, I can do it within or without the game. Most people, we work with the game because they aren't beyond that yet. You have to break. It doesn't even matter what's going on out there if you haven't dealt with what's going on here. Eventually, you can get there if you've dealt with what's going on here. But so, people come in to the game from other games, from other realities, from other places. And those games had karmic laws that were laws of the realm. So they might have murdered 75,000 people in some war game that they were playing that is like this game realm, and they are inserted or they're trapped or they choose to come here, and they're bringing that with them. They have not resolved that. They're usually going to show up on my radar as a dark fire creation soul. They're not going to be empty. They're going to be someone who's carrying a lot of violence or a lot of sadness or a lot of guilt, which gets to your worthy point. Here's what we need to understand. To me, the fundamental flaw, and this is why I'm going back, I've taught Ultimate for 13 years, which is my monthly group. I'm going back to basics. I'm going back to what is the game? Because if you don't understand this, what we're living in, who made it, how it works, why it's here, why you're here, we can't even get to karma. To me, karma is an upper middle thing because you have to understand you're playing a game. Once you understand you're playing a game and the only goal of this game is to wake up, remember, and get out. That's all you have to do. It's not easy, but it's not complicated. It's not like you have to kill the princess, kill the dragon, climb the tower, like Mario, jump over 70 miles. It's not like that. Just remember who you are, for goodness gracious sake, and wake up to your power. Once they wake up, once a fire creation being, a soul being, an eternal being, that's when we can start empowering them. That's when we can load in. Here's your 1,000 lives. You are an element. You are air. You're not even human. Some people think they have a human, what we would call a fire creation soul. They aren't even human. They aren't even souled. So there's empty beings, and then there's beings that are beyond the normal. And so then we can get to that point of empowerment. But if you guys think that what you taste and what you touch is reality, I can't work with that. I have to get you to, you're in a game. It's not about worthiness. I'm sorry, I'm reading you, and I'm sorry. I just can read everything. You've struggled with worthiness. I've struggled with worthiness. I still struggle with worthiness. I don't know if you do or not. I still struggle with, why do I have this gift? Why am I this being? Like, it's a lot. And I'm gonna address something that I really, really love and that I'm working on. None of my clients, I don't know about yours, no one is living in joy. Not one of my clients is living in joy and bliss. I am starting to taste it. I'm starting to allow it in. Why haven't I allowed it in? Why do I feel guilty? Every time I feel like my life is too amazing and too good and too juicy, why do I stop it? Why do I feel guilty? I don't know if you do that, but I do that. I still do that. I was working on that yesterday. I'm like, I'm deliriously happy. And then it clamps down that programming. You don't have a right to be happy. So there's just so much to this that ties into this karmic, so what? So what? You killed 75 million. You're here, you're now, and you can absolve yourself of that. That's the whole thing. This game was created as a restart, a reason, and a remembering. And it's not what they tell you. It's a beautiful place to stage the rest of your eternal life. You guys are here. But if you don't understand that, it gets really, really messy with what you're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. I thought of something when you were talking.
I know that happens to me too.
I know. I wrote little words down, and I'm like, what did I mean?
I do
from that?
too. And I still forget. I'm like, I write on my hand. I'm like, what is that pink mark on my hand?
Right. Well, okay, this one I can read. So are you finding that people are more open to the things you're saying? Are they able to hear it? Because I find that when I started doing what I do, I would mention the word reincarnation and people would go, now it's like, oh yeah, past lives. Oh yeah.
Now they want you. Now they're like, Royce, tell me my past lives.
Really, yeah.
There's an awakening because we're at the end of the game. So all the reset, all the, BS, you get more chances. It's end game. Always, always in any game, in any story, in any myth, at the end game what happens, right? You get the most help. The most people wake up. It's like, okay, we're going to give you this version, we're going to give you a little string to get out, a little more string than you had 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So there are beings being inserted into the game right now, and they are awakened with full memory that are exceptional beings that are here to assist at this time to bring about that softening and awakening just by who they are and the codes that they hold. So there's an unlocking of the game codes. So for the first time, things are possible that never were possible before. So this is a great time. People always look at Endgame because they believe the programming, like the Revelation, the Armageddon programming, that Endgame is, it's not about a war. It's about remembering. Endgame doesn't happen with a war. It happens with a whisper. It dissolves. The game will just dissolve. And when it will dissolve? When every being that I've remembered has woken up and remembered who they are. So this isn't about the NPCs. This is about the fire creation eternal beings and other souls that came here to remember. We're trying to not end the game before everybody, remembers. So that's what's going on now. So we're in endgame. So but you're also going to see, and I'll make a prediction. I mean, and I'm here to personally make sure it happens. You're going to see more of an opportunity as the false falls away. There's a brighter path of truth. So it's easier to see. There's not as much deception. There's not as much lying. There's not so much grifting going on, which we were just talking about with your engineer on X, which is what I consider a pretty 3D platform, not really spiritual platform. I mean, they're outing the UFO community, which crosses over into the spiritual community, as you know. They're saying Lou Elizondo is a paid agent, and they're showing videos. These are not spiritual people. These are not people that would have the same beliefs you and I have, or even believe in reincarnation. And this is my prediction. You will see a crumbling of everything false, and that's going to give you no excuse not to wake up, no excuse not to remember who you are, no excuse not to activate your psychic abilities. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And you and I are in a privileged spot to be there for the first time when we're needed the most. What a beautiful time. There's that saying in Esther, again, I'm anti-Bible, so I don't know why I'm quoting it so much today, but you were born for such a time as this. I was inserted for such a time as this. I believe you're here for such a time as this. I want to be there at the end. I want to be pulling the last person out before it's all over.
Yeah. So I always talk about, all the stuff that's going on in the world right now, and how, we have certain politicians doing certain things, no names mentioned. And I just keep getting so strongly that this is what's going to take us there. This is what's going to help us transform from fear to love. What is your opinion about all that stuff going on politically and environmentally and all that?
Yeah, to me, that's just micro game play. And it's hard for me. Like, I don't watch the news. I don't go on I go on social media to post. I don't go on social media to bathe in social media, because I know who runs the social media, and I know they're siphoning, and I know all the things that they're doing that you don't know that they're doing. It's not even just tracking. It's way beyond that. It's entrainment, and it's hypnotic, and it's just so much else. But I don't pay attention to that, because I understand how certain frequencies and certain ways of being can affect, and you don't have to manipulate. It's not like you have to go in and mess with timelines. I think the focus needs to be on each one of us being the highest resonance with the most memory that we can, that you will see right itself, because that's subscript. And I think that's what they want. They want us to think that it's on them. It's on Trump to fix our problems, or Biden, or whoever. You can name any name, or, it's on this person or that person. But, no one's coming to save you. There is I don't care who's telling you what, there are no ships coming to save you. And the ships aren't what you think. And I'll be teaching in the next couple of weeks on that. I know everything. I'm going to give you all the details, all the names, all the agencies, what's what. But, and this is what I haven't been ready to do, which is what's interesting is, I know it's endgame, because I wouldn't be stepping out. They can't touch me, but I do get a lot of harassment. I could be putting my life in danger, but they already tried to kill me 4 times, and they knew this time was coming, and they knew it would be sealed if they couldn't kill me before this age. So I'm protected. I don't know if everyone's protected that's going to be speaking out and joining me. I'm hoping, some of my students are going to step up, because we have to start speaking unadulterated, resonant truth. And here the game folds around us. And not everything in The Secret is right, and not everything in how they teach manifestation is right. It's not. But there is this teaching that you are the being or the resonance you're supposed to be, and you affect the reality, micro and macro around you. And so as you guys wake up and come what I call online, and come into your fullness, you're not even in the fullness of your abilities. You have so much more. You have so many lives as temple priestesses and seers, and men too, and male type of leadership in mysticism, and you aren't even fully online with your full guests. And so as that awakening happens, and we get more and more of ourselves back, it's not going to be, oh, this is happening. It's going to be, we are the happening. We make the rules. Yeah. Reality rearranges itself around the resonance, Yeah. And so, that's why I'm here, to help you guys be that. And it's macro too. Your lives will get amazing as well, not just the game.
Somebody just sent a question. Who are the beings inserting themselves with full memory? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to. I do know who they are. They're very few at the moment. I would know if more came. We're waiting for one to wake up. I know all the names. I know where they are. I know what they look like. And I could say their names, but beings have different roles. My role is to be a public voice without being taken out. They don't have that protection, so I cannot say their names. Okay. Because I have a different role. My role is to break the system. And so I'm protected because that's what you guys don't understand. You want to be protected? You want to have amazing lives? Be all of you. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do. Be all of you. No one will touch you in any reality if you are all of you. And doing what only you can do. Only you can do certain things, Royce. Only I can do certain things. But we try to, and that never works.
Never works. I mean? Yes, I tried that many times. Yes. Yeah. So we only have a couple of more minutes, and thank you for all those comments that I'm sitting here reading. Thank you, Project 9. We are the happening. We are the champions.
I think that's a song.
That is great. So tell us about what you offer. How can people find you? What do we do next?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that opportunity. I appreciate that. Sure. So right now I'm going under Secret to Everything. Be rebranding, but I mean, it would connect. So you don't need to know that. I'm changing all my offerings, but basically, I'll answer in an email reading basically any question you have, unless I won't, but I'll tell you. And then I'll, I'm still doing scans. I'm just doing them differently. I do secret space scans, which aren't just about secret space. I can pull your secret space file if you have one. I can give you details down to handler notes. I can tell you, I always say, don't buy anything from me if you don't want the truth, because I'm not going to make stuff up or lie to you. A lot of people want to know if their mother, father, sister, brother is sold. I will answer that. Because that's helpful for interrelationships to know. I won't always answer that. I'll answer that sometimes. I do past lives. I look at health. I mean, I just am rearranging my product, so it might be hard. And then I have a monthly where I teach foundational principles of game hacks, how to win at the game, how to succeed, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, everything. So I'm just kind of in flux right now, but what I have to offer is up there at my Etsy store and my website.
Just back for 1 second, you said something about a detailed secret space and secret project. What is that?
That is, we're all in projects. So we're all being hacked, siphoned, which is why we don't have access to our own abilities a lot of times, because other agencies are co-opting them. And if we don't take them back, we never have access. A lot of people are programmed from childhood, inserted from childhood in different projects. And I'm just able to see all that. The agencies that are like messing around in your lives. Again, like I said, you think you met the cute boy in the grocery store, but really he's your handler. I can see if he's legit, like what we call a resonant, mate, that would be good. And you guys are going to be on the same page. Or I can see if they're empty or if they're like a handler. There's great people that are handlers. There's fire creation beings that are handlers that are paid to come in your life and, mess you around and distract you. Because if the goal of the game is to get out and wake up and remember who you are, well, then what's gonna be the gameplay? Everything that would stop that, right? And you have no idea the massive amount of stuff that's stopping you guys. No idea. It's crazy. Way more than you think. Blows my mind.
Wow.
I know. I'm the one that needs to be signed, right? This is on me. Thank you for signing for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm looking at this question. Should we not be married in this game? Would marriage stop one from winning the game? Does having children affect whether one can get out of the game or not?
No,
We only have like a
no.
minute. Can you answer that
I'll
one?
tell you a quick thing. That's a great, I could teach for like 2 hours on that, but really quick.
Yeah.
Depending who you are, yes, marriage could stop you. Depending who, remember, it's a one-player game. It's an individual gameplay. We don't all win the same way. We're not all the same being, and we don't all have the same purpose. I have children. It's not going to stop me winning the game, and I will be not getting married, but I will have a partner. I can get married if I want, and it will not stop me. He will be an asset, and you will see him in a couple of years. He will be teaching with me, so you will see my partner come alongside me and enhance my work. Yeah.
Well, we got to go. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you. And give your website one more time.
Yeah, it's secret, spelled out, secret2everything.com.
Great. Thank you so much. This was
Thank you,
beyond
Rudolph.
amazing. Thank you. And follow my Substack, Royce's Ramblings, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you all for being here.